Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show, discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and it's rainbows and butterflies once again for the Dolphins. As we predicted in previous episodes, along with many fellow fans, the team has restructured Xavien Howard's deal, and now our best player is happy once again. That's always great news. We'll take a deep look as to how Chris Grier got this done, what it means about this regime, and what precedent it sets going forward. There's also some news on the injury front that we got to get to because we can't always be happy, as well as some youngsters actually showing out. We got a loaded one. Let's dive in.
Here's the thing, though, Joe. If it's a $700,000 Band-Aid, that's money well spent if you're the Dolphins, because you're getting, as you mentioned, the interception leader from a year ago. He was dominant on defense, and that defense was pretty good. Brian Flores isn't messing around with that defense, and he did a good job of coaching those guys up. But Xavien Howard has all the talent in the world, and we saw that on the field. He wanted to get traded because he wanted to get paid. So if it only takes $700,000 to keep him, happy, as it were, for the next 17, 18 weeks during the season, that's exactly what you do, and then you revisit it. Perhaps maybe you move on from him after the season, depending on how your season goes. If you have questions about, say, the quarterback situation, and you want to get a first or second round pick out of Xavien Howard, if you can move him to perhaps make some wheelins and dealins in the draft for quarterback, that's a conversation for down the road. But in terms of now, we saw Josh Allen, the deal he just got. You have to be able to defend against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Tom Brady's obviously gone to Tampa Bay. You don't have to worry about him in New England. But if you want to stop the best team in that division, which are the Bills, you have to do it defensively as you groom your young quarterback to come along in Tua Tagovailoa. So I think this is an easy answer to, hey, how do we keep Xavien Howard happy? It only takes $700,000. Sign me up, and we'll revisit this in January and see where we go from there.
Just a few weeks ago, we were all blindsided by the statement released by Xavien Howard. He expressed frustration at his financial situation, as well as some general feelings of betrayal from the Dolphins front office, which was all kind of melodramatic, but Dolphins fans were split. I saw it right here in the comment section of our videos. The pod was hurting. So much optimism heading into this crucial season, and then here was one man, a man that we thought was on our side, threatening to derail the whole darn thing. People were out screaming, cut him, trade him, he's ungrateful. People came out of the woodwork to express their anger at the Pro Bowler, and that anger, it's frankly very explainable. We're Dolphins fans. We root for this team's success first and foremost, and regardless of who you are, if you step in the way of this team's success, fans are going to let you know about it. But there's always another side to every story, and Xavien Howard, his story is a little complicated. He has been underappreciated from the NFL at large his whole career, and if you ignore injury concerns, just when he's on the field, what he shows via the eye test and his numbers when he plays, the man is straight up on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He is. We have perhaps the best corner to ever don aqua and orange right before our eyes, playing right now in his prime. And that's an amazing thing. And even if you disagree, your team Pat Surtain, Sam Madison, maybe you're a little older and there's some guy I don't know from the 70s who's a little bit better. Hey, X is right up there. And if we know that, don't you think Xavien Howard knows that? And shouldn't a man be valued for what he really is? How can you truly begrudge a guy for going after what is, justifiably his? And that's why we had a very conflicted stance here on the show. It was a complicated situation. The best that we could hope for was that the two sides would work something out for the betterment of everyone involved. And here's the thing, though. Chris Grier is a different cat. He's no Mike Tannenbaum, who would have bent backwards and given X more guaranteed money the moment he hauled in that 10th interception. No, this new regime, they take their time. They play their cards right. Always keep one eye on the future. Try to anticipate problems before they arrive, and then stay steadfast in your vision. They were not going to bud so easily when they had all the leverage in this situation. It was complicated because despite having all that leverage, everyone and their mama knew that the X-Man had beyond a shadow of a doubt played above his contract and was likely gonna again. It benefited Miami to keep number 25 on the roster, so they got to work and got something done. Not only sending a message to Howard himself that, look, you are valued here, but it also sent a message to the whole roster. If you elevate this team, we'll work to elevate you. And that's a damn good message to send to a group of hungry young athletes. Now, specifically looking at the deal, Miami pulled off something great here. And to be honest, they kind of took a page out of New England's notebook in how they handled all-pro corner Stephon Gilmore. Rather than just bumping up his salary, they added incentives, which protect them in case of injury, while also giving the player more money if he earns it. And here are the incentives that were added to his 2021 deal. The Dolphins fully guaranteed his full season deal of $12.785 million, which frankly is the bare minimum. $1 million incentive for a Pro Bowl berth, up to $3.5 million if he plays 90% of Miami's defensive snaps, as well as a removal of $93,000 in minicamp fines for missing and skipping due to the holdout. So, as you can see, although it looks like a win for Howard, all the Dolphins really did here was kind of the bare minimum. They guaranteed his full contract and then added $4.5 million in incentives, something that he's only going to receive if he plays well and at a high level. That's totally worth it for the team. He can ultimately make up to $16.285 million for this season, but that is if he plays almost all the games and plays well. That's good for us. That is worth $16.285 million for the Phins. And then next year, in 2022, they also fully guaranteed his contract of $12.975 million for injury as well, as long as he's on the roster the first day of the new league year. They additionally converted all of his bonuses to base salary, adding about $6.775 million into a signing bonus, which he received immediately, and that's a nice chunk of change to help ease the tension. I would stop chirping if I got almost $7 million just deposited into my bank. But look, it's important to note that according to Howard's camp, Grier and the Dolphins brass made it known that they would also be willing to revisit this deal at the end of the season if Howard balls out once again and shows that he's worth doing a proper long-term extension for. Now, in my opinion, the reality of this situation is that Howard is absolutely 100% going to be a Dolphin this season, and then if he performs like we expect him to, Miami's going to trade him to a team for a good return and then let that franchise pay Howard a new market-setting deal. Miami's not going to want any part of that. And I doubt that they're going to completely rework his deal, even if he has a historic season. Say he pulls in 12 interceptions, and you're like, holy crap, this guy might be the best corner ever. Miami's going to be like, look, we still have all the leverage. We'll bump up your guarantees again. We'll do the same thing again as they did just now, but they're not going to completely rework his deal when they don't have to. Look, it's just how the Patriots have operated with their best players. The Dolphins are going to keep making it a year-to-year thing. I mean, Bill was doing that to Tom Brady. It's why he ultimately left. So it's frankly a good approach to help keep talented, high-level guys on your team at a cap-friendly number, benefiting everybody and helping sustain long-term winning. But again, this isn't going to be the first contract dispute that this team, the new Dolphins, they're going to have. If they continue to have good players and they sign them early to good deals and then they end up developing and playing at a high level, outperforming those deals, we're going to have a lot of contract disputes. But that's a good problem to have. It's better than that than having to throw a ton of money at guys in free agency because you're desperate. This is a good problem to have. And again, as long as the Dolphins are good, it means that you're going to have good players, and those good players are going to want to get paid. It is Chris Grier's job to make sure that the cap is managed and that he has the best 53 guys ready for Brian Flores. Guys that we have now working in our front office. It's a legit front office. We actually have people who know how to manage the cap, who aren't going to overextend themselves just to appease an elite player. No, they're going to make sure they do it on their terms. That is great news and something we have not experienced in a long, long time. So personally, I was so happy to hear the deal, and frankly, the way that it all played out, despite the drama, it showed that Miami was in command, but was also willing to work with a great player when it was clearly deserved. It's a case-by-case basis. So this whole precedent that people are worried about, frankly, I'm like, dude, when are we going to have another Xavien Howard? If we have another Xavien Howard, fine. We'll deal with this again. But not every single player is going to come out and be like, I outperformed my deal. I had like 2 more sacks than you expected. No. If a guy has 18 sacks and we're paying him for like 9, then yeah, he is justified in coming out and asking for more money. That's the precedent it sets. If you significantly outplay your contract and everyone and their mama knows that you deserve more money, then you can pout, but that's going to happen to every single team. This isn't a Miami Dolphin problem, but the way the Dolphins handled it showed that they can handle these problems well going forward. And again, it shows competence, and it also builds good faith in the locker room. And that's going to pay dividends going into this season. And why this is so important, specifically in this case, as we've discussed before, Xavien Howard is the best corner in the league. At me. If you have any disagreements, at me. I got the stats to back it up. Until proven otherwise, I do want Howard shutting down one half of the field for the Dolphins and forcing opposing quarterbacks into mistakes. He changes the way that we play defense. And in this scheme, that is everything. High-level secondary play is everything, not only dictating our coverages and how easily they can be disguised, but it also maximizes your blitz packages. That all-out blitz look that we saw a ton of last season, especially on third down, the one that would haunt every quarterback in their nightmares for weeks. Well, Miami can have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage with at least appearing to have no safety help over the top, because they know that you got 2 solid guys who are not going to mess up in Byron Jones and Xavien Howard and let the guy get behind the defense. We got it again this year, and hopefully with another year in the defense, we expect better play from not only X, but improvement from Byron Jones. So now that I can say this with confidence, we can expect a top 5 defense once again, now that the X-Man is back in aqua and orange. Staying in the secondary, it does appear that the Dolphins' second-round investment this season may also pay dividends quickly. Former Oregon safety and Miami's first pick in the second round, Jevon Holland, he was being eased in early on. It was apparent from his reps. He was with the second and third teams early in camp, but the coaching staff wanted him to earn a role on the field, similar to how they handled Brandon Jones last season, and then Brandon Jones showed that he could pick up this defense very quickly. Jevon Holland has also shown that he's capable of the same. Unlike Brandon Jones, however, Holland is making play after play in camp as a rookie. The Phins brought Jevon up to first-team free safety last week. They had Jason McCourty playing there, but they're like, we always knew the plan was to hope that Holland would take that role, and he has. Not only commanding the defense from a play-calling standpoint with minimal errors, and those things will get cleared up as the offseason goes, and you hope that none of those errors appear come the fall, but he also nabbed 2 interceptions off Tua and a fumble recovery in the week of starting at free safety. And look, that was Holland's MO coming out of Oregon. He was a playmaker, great athlete with 4.4 speed, and a sure tackler. He is strong for how skinny he looks. He is literally the prototype for free safety in this scheme. It's unfortunate but true. Bobby McCain was limited, and although Miami transitioned him to free safety out of the nickel, it was always kind of a stopgap situation. He was not the best tackler, and despite his energy, charisma, and leadership, they were more blown coverages than you would like to see from a Brian Flores defense, which is why now Bobby's over in Washington, and it's why Holland was brought in. And if he continues on this trajectory, I could honestly see the rookie be starting week 1 at the free safety role and maybe even bring down 3 to 5 interceptions on the year as a rookie. We're definitely going to keep an eye on Jevon early in the preseason, which is now less than a week away. Moving on to some bad news, because again, not everything is wonderful all of the time. Dolphins rookie tight end Hunter Long, he went down with what appeared to be a serious knee injury. The cart had to come out for him, and that is never good. Hopefully it's just a strain. They were just being overly cautious, and he can at some point come back this season. But realistically, how mum the team has been on the situation, it could end up being a redshirt year for the Boston College product if the prognosis is what we fear it could be, which stinks. Because not only does it hurt a potential stud's development, because look, Hunter Long was looking good. He was also moving up the depth chart, which says a lot from the tight end position, but it also means that the team's even more likely to hold on to Adam Shaheen, who aside from being blessed with great physical size and natural athleticism, was not blessed with much else, to say the least. He's a dumb bum, and he's likely going to end up getting a roster spot now, which sucks. I like my guys to be smart on and off the field, but hey, he is a tight end, a lot of head contact over the years, so we just want him to block and catch outlet passes for now, until we can dump his ass. And lastly, the next time we speak, the Dolphins are going to be up in Chicago for their first of 2 joint practices this training camp. It's an exciting time and great for us fans, as well as the coaching staff, of course, because now the coaches can see who performs against new faces and unknown schemes. The Dolphins' offensive line has been getting beat up by Miami's defense. And is that because the line is bad, or is this front 7 dominant? If Miami looks good against the Bears, the O-line does, and the offense makes big plays in the passing game, giving Tua Tagovailoa time, opening up holes for Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed, then that goes a long way in building comfort and confidence for what they will look like come September. If the offensive line struggles, and Khalil Mack is breaking free nearly every rep, and Tua looks like a chicken with his head cut off running for his life, we may have big problems. Speaking of Tua, will his stellar camp performance continue against new coverages and new looks? Not the same defense he's gotten comfortable playing against. We're going to be facing a new, pretty damn good defense in their own right with the Chicago Bears. He can't rely on the comfort of playing against guys he's seen week in and week out, knowing that, hey, it's okay to take risks and make too many mistakes. No, You can't make mistakes now. These joint practices are essentially scrimmages. And for both teams to assess their rosters and schemes in a controlled environment. It's a great opportunity for these coaches to, in that controlled environment, practice on their weaknesses, see who's balling, see who isn't. It's essentially just an extension of the preseason games themselves. Seeing who steps up and who falls back over these next 2 weeks, first against the Bears and then next week versus the Falcons, the players are going to be given every opportunity to now earn a spot on the squad if they perform. Frankly, the first 2 weeks are probably going to be kind of thrown out. I guarantee you that these next few weeks hold more weight in the coach's eyes versus the beginning of camp. The last couple of weeks were more about install, initial understanding of your role and what the defense is and the offense is. Get an understanding of the playbook, the why behind certain schemes and calls, as well as just the initial jockeying for position on the depth chart. Now, they have to apply and execute that knowledge against new foes and new competitors. Guys who have been in the background, guys like Lynn Bowden Jr. and Malcolm Perry, who we have talked about not popping despite being kind of poppy players as rookies last year. On defense, Jonathan Ledbetter, Tyshawn Render, countless more have an opportunity to show out and earn a legitimate role for this team in 2021. And the same thing goes the other way too. Guys who have earned starting reps, guys like Michael Dieter, the aforementioned Jevon Holland, and corner Justin Coleman, these guys have to continue to play well against this new team to hold on to that spot. And personally, moving to Chicago, I'm also really intrigued to see Justin Fields. I was a lot higher on him than others coming out, and I think he can succeed if given an offense catered to his abilities. I believe that he got that in Matt Nagy and the Bears. They're desperate for competent quarterback play, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure Fields succeeds. I hope that we see him sling it and show out against this really good defense. It's going to go a long way in shutting up plenty of his doubters who don't really have great arguments. Look, I don't think he can be a perennial All-Pro or compete for multiple Super Bowls, but if a guy like Cam Newton can succeed, get to a Super Bowl, find a role in this league, then so can Justin Fields. He is a talented runner. He has deceptive speed and agility in the open field, making him kind of like a young Cam Newton, and he has a great arm with some underrated accuracy. He does need to fix some fundamental issues and work on his consistency, but if Josh Allen can do it, anyone can. Speaking of Josh Allen, just a quick side note here. He signed a mega deal for the Bills. Good for him. Look, he has played very well, and unfortunately very well against the Dolphins. I do hope that changes. And the best part about this contract is all this money now going to Allen. He's no longer on that rookie deal. The Bills will inevitably regress on the defensive side of the ball as well as on the skill players because they cannot afford to retain the same level of depth that they have. It's going to hurt them. If Allen continues to be the quarterback that we saw last year, it really won't matter much. I just don't think he will. He will regress, and so will this team now that they're tethered to that contract. But hey, time will tell. Now, going back to Justin Fields, talking about what he can be, he has the makings of a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, again, like a Cam Newton. And I think it's great for the league if a guy like him succeeds. What do you guys think of Fields from what you saw in college, now that he's in Chicago? Can he carve up the Dolphins defense, or will we give him major issues? Let us know in the comments below. And from the Dolphins' perspective, regarding these joint practices, what was our biggest issue as a defense last year? Obviously, aside from not being able to stop a nosebleed, let alone a good running game, our issue was containing mobile quarterbacks. From Cam Newton in week 1, that was a painful loss. Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. The Dolphins struggled to prevent those mobile guys from extending plays and then ultimately extending drives. Justin Fields is that kind of quarterback. I know he's a rookie, but that makes it all the more important that we see him struggle when he faces us. Obviously, I'm rooting for him. I hope he makes some cool plays. Just from a practice standpoint, it'd be cool to see. But I do hope that he can't tell right side up when he's facing our coverages and disguised blitzes. I hope reports are Fields looks confused. As much as I'm rooting for him, if he's confused, it means our defense is playing well, which I'm more rooting for. It's definitely an exciting time, and we're going to have much, much more to talk about as we get these joint practices underway. I cannot wait to break it all down with you. Be sure to subscribe if you're still watching via YouTube. What are you waiting for? Subscribe. You're already still watching. I don't know. Click that red button. And if you're listening via audio stream, thank you as always. We'd obviously greatly appreciate a review of the show to help other Dolphins fans find and join the pod. Thank you all again, and be sure to stay tuned for more Dolphins updates and breakdowns.
Look, like you said, he's a very good player. So we want him back. We wanted him here. We want him here, and he's here. And We're excited to have him. So the level of concern was, I can't say that there was much level of concern. I think, Chris, Brandon, X's representation, there was always, communication. So, like I said a few weeks ago, I think anytime there's lines of communications that are open, there's dialogue, there's concessions, compromise, whatever you want to call it, on both sides. Which obviously on our side there was definitely some concessions, and you do that on a case by case basis with certain players, and in this instance, we felt like we were doing. We're always going to do what we feel is best for the team, and we're excited to have him.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Timothy Ritchie, member of the pod and supporter of the show over on Patreon. Check that out. Links in the description, or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all so much for the support over there. And please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the PhinsPod's available everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you find audio streaming podcasts. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram @PhinsPod. I hope you all have an amazing day. Until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.